Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. And we may give away some secrets about Santa Claus in the process.
Don't call me sentient.
Or
I
Santa.
keep telling people if it doesn't apply to you, just ignore it.
That needs to be in your disclaimer. that would stop a lot of fights.
Yeah, speaking of fights, I made the mistake of responding to a string on Twitter that Jen Ultrich and Jen Ocean were in.
Yeah, that seemed quite prickly.
See,
Yeah.
That's why I post a picture, quote from someone you've never heard of or don't remember, and I run.
It doesn't seem to bother them that I was simply making a statement of fact that really wasn't even an opinion.
But it
Oh, well.
disagreed with their position, so therefore it had to be an opinion or something. I don't know. I don't really care.
Like I was telling Swede, oh, it's really howling. It's actually raining in Southern California right now. You know, there's some people that are just look for a fight no matter what. No matter what you're into. I'm on a bunch of hockey forums, and it's sad that they're more peaceful than the atheist community. The hockey fans respect each other to a certain,
And if you understand college football right now, Nebraska and Iowa fans are getting along better than atheists and pagans and
Oh yeah.
It's
Hey,
like that
Lisa.
old what is it? Groundskeeper Willie, atheists and Christians, atheists and pagans, atheists and Hindus, atheists and other atheists.
Well, one of the things that bothers me when the pagans are saying things is they think they can speak for their entire community when their community is an umbrella term for 1,000 unrelated religions. And in my experience, there's a lot of regional differences. I was a pagan for 25 years, first in Minnesota and then in New York. And yeah, not a lot you could get people to agree on anything.
Yeah. When I heard the term heathen, all it really means is not of the majority religion in your area.
Yeah, I think it's more like heathen just means not of my religion.
Or
that the
that
speaker
too.
is just rejecting anyone who's not of the same religion.
Yeah. I mean, heretic,
I remember learning
is
heathen.
derivation.
I remember learning heathen when I was a kid, and people specifically said that it would meant adults specifically meant that things that revolved around debauchery and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Well, and that under that title, I wholeheartedly claim it. When I was with my ex, I belonged to a swingers group. I've gone to gay sex parties. Pretty much any kind of debauchery short of actually maiming and killing people, I've done.
Whenever you mention that swingers club, you know what I always think about? I think about you dressed in like white pants with white shoes and a white belt with a red puffy shirt and puka shells.
with the Bee Gees going on in the background.
Okay,
yeah,
so
sorry,
that's
what swingers does that to me. It's not a reflection on you. That's just what swingers does to me.
Yeah, you still got a very 60s image of it, huh?
There's nothing wrong with puka shells. And every time you bring up like a swingers club, I know I'm in the right place. Because I too have partaken in heathen activity. And because of COVID, I'll probably never go back to the bathhouse in downtown LA. And I'm actually kind of sad about it because I have nothing to do on Saturdays anymore.
So I see that Donnie Trump is getting excoriated by his own people because he said, "Go get the vaccine."
Yes, that's any trashed crypto. So it's kind of like it's the blind squirrel theory.
I think in general they just want him to stand against whatever the Democrats are saying.
Yeah.
They're anti anything that's common sense right now.
Well, even the Democrats aren't even common sense anymore. I mean,
well, that's what happens when you gain control.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but they think that they have to slide back towards the center, or not towards the center, towards the American center, which is extreme right wing to begin with.
Yeah.
To maintain their position of power, and their base is looking at them like, no, we elected you to do this list of things, and if you got us like student loan relief and Medicare for all, I don't think Democrats would lose an election for the next 50 years.
Yeah, that's the problem. The Democrats actually have to do something. And the Democrats just have to push something through. They can't expect that there's going to be any compromise. Yeah.
They have pushed things through.
Yeah. I'm just saying they've got to stop thinking they're going to get any help from anyone or any kind of compromise, that they just have to strong arm it, and they just have to push things through that are going to help most of the population.
Yeah, the policy shift of what we've seen is Democrats thinking they can compromise to get something through, and they're not going to get the votes from the compromise anyway. So why are you even compromising? The original infrastructure bill was $3.5 trillion. Should have stayed that way.
Yep. So actually, the original one was $6 trillion.
Oh, the first draft was 6. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, the first draft was 6, and then they compromised and settled for half, and then they let them bargain it down from there.
But they got something passed. They got more infrastructure work going on than the Republicans have in the last 50 years.
Yep.
So quit putting down the Democrats. You're talking about bumper sticker politics here. The Democrats have achieved things. Go look it up.
And also, it's not that Jenny and I actually agree with you on this one, Jenny. And
okay, I'm changing my mind then.
they've utterly and completely had to undo everything Trump did. I took notes when Biden came into office. Where's my notes? He spent like 3 days just undoing all those stupid executive orders that Trump had.
Yeah.
And they're still undoing, and it takes a lot. And I'm not pro-government at all. But not Trump. Is that me or what?
But they didn't gain any votes to push anything through by going from 6 trillion to 1.5. So they should have just stayed with the original bill the entire time.
Okay, Jenny. Yeah, they have got some things through, and that's the other part of where they're falling apart is messaging. Because they're not getting their message out to the public. Yeah, the Republicans managed to take credit for anything that is accomplished and blame the Democrats for everything that isn't.
So the echo is not me. The problem is the country was so effed up when Biden took over. It's going to take a while to put it back to anything that we would think was America in the first place.
And if the Democrats don't get their votes and hold the House in 2022, you can pretty much kiss our democracy goodbye.
Hillary Clinton said that the other day. She said if Trump wins, it's the end of democracy.
Yep.
And I have to look
I'm not even sure, if the Republicans manage to get control of both houses in the midterms, I don't know if we'll ever get it back after that.
No, with the gerrymandering, no, that we probably wouldn't. Until the people get sick enough of it and realize who's the blame.
If you ever took a look at Jim Jordan's district in Ohio, you can see gerrymandering at work.
And all of Wisconsin and all of Texas, and it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere.
Yeah. I think there's one district in Chicago that has like 6 districts packed inside of it, and it just goes around it. It's a really thin line of neighborhoods that go around this
That
area.
wouldn't surprise. Well, that wouldn't surprise me, especially if it's basically the downtown region surrounded by a bunch
Well,
of other
there's
neighborhoods.
a district in Texas to get the Republicans into it. Ended up having to mention something like a couple of 100 miles long and 10 or 20 miles wide. Something like that. It's just obscene, and then to just stand up there like sheepish children. Oh
Yeah,
no, there's no trickery going on here. Oh,
in
cut it out.
Pennsylvania, there's a horseshoe district that would be a completely closed circle except for just one block.
To be fair, though, in Texas,
through it.
in Texas, they literally are making shit up. If they don't like a law, they'll just change it in their favor. And then you go to a different county and it's a different law, a completely different law. Texas is crazy. But that's what happens when you get small government in Republican ran areas. But I live in California. Don't move here. It's not the utopia. If you're prom queen, everybody's hot here. Don't move here. If you think you're going to make it online first.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
here it is. Here it is.
I spent 12 years trying to get back to Minnesota. I'm staying here.
Well, America, we get I always say women outnumber men 7-1.
There you go. That's gerrymandering.
Oh,
yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh,
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Hold on, I want to see that. Fuck.
Yep.
Anything for votes, huh?
Oh, Chicago, the corruption capital of the world.
And to be fair,
Hey,
both
I
parties
lived in Chicago under the original Daley administration. Well, in the suburbs, actually. But, Daley's motto was vote early, vote often.
I think it's telling that.
To be fair, the Democrats gerrymander as well. They have not ever done it as extreme and for so many 10-year slots in a row as the Republicans have. So they've been able to do a lot of damage. But the Democrats gerrymander too.
Oh yeah, both parties do it.
It's if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
I was about to say politicians in general are corrupt. And as somebody who owns a business in a small town and has to deal with every wannabe fake politician, it's a stereotype almost.
There's a couple other.
Yep. Sorry, everybody, that I haven't really acknowledged everybody in the side chat yet.
Oh, let's hear the roster.
Oh, we've got Commander 401, B, Ox,
So
GeoSam. GeoSam hasn't been around for a while, and Genzu, Native Atheist, and Mage. So, hey everyone, sorry, didn't mean to be ignoring you. I'm just way behind, and I'm still juggling things about, making sure everybody's got the links for the Christmas marathon and that. So,
hey, Lone Wanderer.
Lone Wanderer, that package, I've got it boxed up, although I probably, at this point, probably won't get to the post office until Monday.
This congressional district is known as the Praying Mantis.
Yep.
Wow, that's one district?
Yep.
It's such total bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, they really need to just get rid of that, and they just, they need to say something about, districts have to be actually, defined by existing borders.
Here is one non-contiguous one. I've never seen this before. North Carolina has a non-contiguous. Oh,
I
Jerry
didn't
just
know
got
they could do
mandered.
that. I thought it had to be attached. But I suppose each state, it's a matter of how it's written in the legislature.
Even if I'm reading this wrong and those are two different districts, that's still messed up.
It could be that in some states they found some way to, argue the wording that they could do that.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a list in my head of who, but there have been some states that have gotten rid of the political district creating and have an independent board doing it. And they said that they have a higher percentage of competitive races.
Yeah, well, that's the way it should be done.
Around here, it's usually socioeconomic discrimination. So depending on what neighborhood you live in is pretty much you can tell who's voting what. I live, embarrassingly, if I showed you a map, I live in the little red swash that is the blue ocean of Southern California. But my town traditionally votes Republican through down the board.
The gerrymandering, they do it. They select the borders based on your internet activities that are being followed by Facebook and Google and all that stuff, and they sell that data. Well, they can track you down to the address, and so they can say, look, the people on these addresses tend to buy more guns, or tend to buy this, or tend to buy that things that represent conservative politics. And so they say, well, let's draw the line out and include those people. And so they do. And then they end up with this complete fuckwad of a district that has no competition.
And then there's Maxine Waters' district. She doesn't even live in her district.
Most of them don't.
Why are you going after Compton, huh? Why are you going?
Because and we have to acknowledge this, is that a Democrat is always annually listed as the most corrupt politician.
I was just about to say, you almost made me drop my joint on that one. That area is worse than Chicago. There are fist fights in LA and at city councils. It's lit. And it happens here in the burbs too. We fight. We're ridiculous.
I don't know why it's ever allowed for somebody to represent a district they don't live in.
Well, because Maxine Waters registers to vote inside the district, but not at her home. And I don't know how that happens.
Or how she can get
no. Oh, here it is. She her home address, residence address, is her campaign headquarters office. Which is inside the district.
Well, yeah, that's BS. Do you know there are still? Do you know where in her district there are still burnt out buildings from the riots, from the early '90s riots? If you want to talk about corruption, she's a mess. Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on California politics.
Go to lower 9th Ward. They still haven't finished clearing that out.
That's really sad to me. That's really sad because at least in a place like Compton, Carson, and Watts, they have other people subsidizing people like Maxine Waters who don't help them. They get help, but it's just not always from the best sources.
Yeah, but if you go to New Orleans, the lower 9th Ward still houses standing that are nothing but mold.
That's disgusting. Because that's one of the reasons I jumped when you said Maxine Waters, because although she's corrupt, people still take care of their homes. It's still a tight-knit community. It's not necessarily what you see in the movies. There's more danger in the San Fernando Valley than there is in central Los Angeles nowadays.
Yeah, I'd probably be more scared to live in Bakersfield than South LA.
Yeah, it's human desolation.
Or Stockton.
Oh, so I lived in Stockton, and the one crazy thing about Stockton, California, is that you're a statistic if you don't get your car stolen or window broken.
Oh, jeez.
It is.
Well, yeah. Guess what the unemployment rate in Stockton is?
I have no idea. I want to hear it.
I think it's upward of 26%.
Do you know what's funny? I moved there and got a job that was paying $30-something an hour because no one wanted the job. I worked at a factory when Isaiah was first born. My ex-wife and I lived in Stockton, and I worked at a factory in Modesto.
What were you doing for the job?
We were packaging breadsticks, and it was backbreaking work because you stand there for 12 hours. You just go like this for 12 hours. They give you a break so you can drink coffee and smoke half a pack of cigarettes, and the job's really competitive. So at any moment they could walk up to you and fire you.
Okay, it's 17%, and it's actually gone down quite a bit. It was 17% for a while. It dropped all the way down to the 5s, and now it's in the 8s. The 8 is still a lot.
Stockton, I always talk trash about how LA is dangerous and this and that. When my parents came to visit my ex-wife and I, my dad, he smoked a pipe. He was smoking his Captain Black pipe outside. He witnessed a drug deal go bad, and he witnessed a man get shot. And because he was a photographer, he sat there with his Nikon and just took pictures. The cops came, the ambulance came, and everything. Like that doesn't even happen in LA like every day. And we have millions of people that live here. Stockton is lit.
And it's so different than it's only what, 50, 60 miles west or east of San Francisco?
Yeah, something like that. Because it's not that far. I judge everything by hours of how long it takes to get there. And like San Francisco's a landmark. Stockton is because I used to live there. And Native atheists know California is not a right to work state. But if you sign a contract, they could do whatever they want to you. And back then, minimum wage was still like, I want to say $10 or something. So getting paid $30 an hour was unheard of,
Okay. In California, though, judging distances by hours, isn't that a bit difficult? Because, for one thing, doesn't the time of day matter? But also just with California traffic there,
too.
Doesn't it take like an hour and a half to get across the street?
So it depends on how far you live in the city. If you live on the west side, you have to deal with the 405 and you have to add an extra hour and a half. I live on the outskirts in the burbs. So it's kind of cheating. Like from my house to Vegas, it takes about 3.5, 4 hours. From when I lived on Hoover Street in the heart of Los Angeles near Hollywood, it would take 4.5, 5 hours to get to Vegas. And that's only 30 miles from my house now. So that it is a big difference depending on where you live, because there is a mass amount of people that live here. It took me, I want to say an hour and a half to get to the pot shop yesterday. And that trip usually takes me 20 minutes because there was an accident on the 5 freeway yesterday.
Yeah. When I lived in the Twin Cities, I learned how to navigate so that I could get anywhere without going on the highways, because in rush hour it was pointless.
Oh, I always
So
do that too.
I was living in St. Paul and working in Eden Prairie, which literally meant I had to cross the entire width of Minneapolis in between. And yeah, I figured out ways to do that I wasn't going to get on the highways, because if you got on 494 anytime between 3 and 6 o'clock in the afternoon, yeah, you'd just be sitting there for 3 hours.
Well, don't they rent apartments there, right on that part of the freeway?
Just hotels. Just so they can charge you by the hour.
We don't have
But yeah,
those here
especially
anymore.
if you're trying to go past the area where the airport and Mall of America exits are, forget it.
It's more chaos around here around the holidays, or if there's an event that's going on. Usually it's just a normal flow of traffic. I'm used to it because I'm from here and I've lived in the city, the outskirts. I've lived by the ocean, so I'm used to the traffic. But it's chaotic. Because when I lived up north, I never got used to the fact that to me, I always felt like there wasn't that many people around. Because in LA, you're never alone.
Today,
Ever.
today in the town I live in, we have a traffic jam if there are 3 cars on the street.
Yeah, well, where I lived in Michigan, rush hour was at bar closing, and that was because there were 5 tractors on the street. Mostly it was guys who would drive tractors, ATVs, and snowmobiles to the bar because they'd already lost their license for drunk driving.
Hey, dog. You know, LA, like, for as much as I trash it, it's a great place to live. It's just there's a mass of people here. And because it's a transitional city, there's always people moving here. Always. So it's just a ton of people.
Well, anybody got anything more positive to talk about?
I know.
Inflation is not as bad as people are making it out to be.
What isn't?
Inflation.
I heard. Oh, sorry. I heard this thing on libertarian radio that they're gonna. So remember, this is libertarian radio, so everything is like panic. But that we're gonna basically you're gonna need to have a computer chip in your car, which is gonna have an interlock device in it by a certain year. They said 2026. But I've been looking into it and I really haven't found anything. And there's more validity to the California laws about how you're in 2 years, it's going to be illegal to own small gas power motors. And by 2030, everyone's going to have an electrical car. That's just fact.
What the very first thing you said, what are you going to have?
What do you mean? Oh, they were basically saying, like, you know, libertarians are all about freedom. And they were basically saying that we're going to have a computer chip there, or there's going to be a computer chip in every car after 2026, that the cops can have a switch, or it's going to have an interlock device in it. So basically every time you get in your car, it's going to know if you're wasted. But on the flip side, I'm going to say this right now. I haven't had a drink in 7 years. If we all get self-driving cars, I'm getting wasted in my car. I'm going to start drinking again. I'm going to get the good whiskey.
I think for the self-driving car, there's like 4 stages we have to get through to get to the point of where you're talking. Because we're at quote unquote stage 1 right now, which is where you basically can kind of take your hands off the wheel, but you still need to be at least paying attention to everything.
I want one where I'm playing euchre with 3 of my friends.
I think that's stage 4. I think in the stage 4 you can actually get into the back seat, take a nap, and just tell it where to go, and that's kind of the fully autonomous.
Yeah, and we're not anywhere near that. We're so far from that, it's not funny. For Tesla and stuff to be representing that they can have the hands-off driving and stuff like that is absolutely just a fucking lie. They have proven over and over in many instances already that they cannot recognize certain situations, and people have died because of it.
Yes, in Arizona.
They're not ready for that shit on the road.
No, the computer technology is not there yet. And Elon Musk promised that there would be self-driving over-the-road trucks by 2019. He was getting people to pre-buy them in 2016.
I agree with. I'm semi-anti-technology. I'm seriously thinking about moving out of the state of California because I'm not getting rid of my old beater truck. So I'm right there with you, Mage. Like, what if the AI does malfunction? I read too many books as a kid, so I want a car that self-drives. If I can't have a flying car or a hoverboard, I want to be able to drink in my car.
Is California going to make you get rid of the gas engine car, or is it just going to grandfather in the ones that are already licensed and phase it out gradually?
Well, for a state that Exxon and Shell comes from, they're threatening getting rid of gas, and it made me laugh.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I'm like, Shell and Exxon literally are from Southern California. Like, good luck with that. good luck. Good luck with that.
Well, and the reason this country is laid out the way it is, and the reason that most cities don't have functional mass transportation, is because the auto manufacturers and the oil companies and the tire manufacturers like it that way.
My thing is like, okay, so we're not going to be able to have small gas powered motors. What about all the people in Northern California? I grew up having a dirt bike. What about all the people that own dirt bikes? Are they no longer going to be able to put gas in their, like, and I can't picture an electrical dirt bike. Where I'm from, it's like if you pulled up with an electrical Harley, you would get laughed at. I'm sorry.
Well, they already exist.
I know they do. I see them all the time around here because I live in the burbs. But like, if you pulled up in front of certain people, they would like point and laugh at you. You know.
You know, it's funny. It's funny because when people were first talking about electrics, all these macho shitheads would say, "Oh well, come on, let's go race. You know, let's go do 0-60. Electrics are suck and shit." And yeah, well, go race a Tesla sometime and watch your ass get beat badly. It's just the nature of an electric motor to have infinite torque. You just got to give it more power.
I agree with you. I kind of wanted the truck until I saw him put the sledgehammer through the through the window. I still kind of want that ugly truck. I'm not against it if it's sensible technology, but forcing people to do things is just a bad idea sometimes.
Well,
because
we're at a point that if we don't make some major changes, we're hopeless for surviving on the planet.
I agree with you, but I own at least 15 generators. I have a dirt bike, motorcycles. Like I am the small engine guy that's going to completely be in the lurch 2 years from now. I'll just sell everything, you know, but I'm saying
who will buy it?
Well,
people out of state.
Yeah, I don't see them doing it that quickly. They're going to have to, phase it out over 10 or 20 years.
Kids, Europe has already passed laws that say no gasoline after 2030.
Yeah.
It's 10 years, less than 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of countries in Europe can do that. I don't believe anywhere in the U.S. can do that.
And like I said, I'm not anti. I'm not against it. It's just it's going to be interesting how they implement it.
It's going to happen no matter what the mass of people say because we have to.
I'm going to take all my generators apart and build Optimus Prime. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build like a 15-foot monstrosity of all the things I can't use anymore. I have a welder. Challenge me. I have an old machine and a new one.
Well, you just need an electrically powered generator.
You know, I'm whining, and the ranch has millions of dollars worth of solar. Like when the power goes out, we don't even notice at the ranch because it has just millions of I'm a whiny crybaby who's not gonna be able to ride his motorcycle around. Ignore me. I'm pro environment.
I'm recommending people who are car collectors to get out of the hobby now. Sell it to people who will still buy because they want to have their little antique and run all the gasoline that's no longer going to be available in 2030 or so.
If you
sell your stuff now, where you can still get money.
I'm gonna start sending you rando California car ads. You would laugh at the price that people are asking, Jenny. You would fall on the ground.
Yeah. Well, and what Uni's saying here is how I assume they'll probably have to do it. Is they'll have to grandfather in the ones that are already licensed and just not allow anybody to sell any new ones until they gradually disappear.
I agree with Nate's atheists too. They're probably gonna go after like my truck.
The conflict is going to come down to at some point gasoline engines will be illegal. There's no doubt about that. Exactly when that's going to be, I don't know. But it is going to happen, and it's going to come down to the argument of you can't do that because poor people can't afford to buy an electric car.
Right.
Yeah, that's because it's 2030 in California, and that's already the argument. Because we're already fighting public officials about it.
Well, and as far as native atheist says about limiting them, what we needed to do was stick with the regulations that were passed in the 80s that had said that, like, by 2000, they weren't supposed to be able to sell any car that got less than 40 miles per gallon. But then they invented SUVs to just get around that.
Yeah, and that's been one of the biggest culture shocks of my days is moving from Milwaukee to rural here. I mean, certainly there was way too many SUVs in Milwaukee. I'm not calling them innocent, but here I would say 95% are SUVs. There are very
Wow.
few, just small cars. And
Well-
small car. Mine is one of the only small cars. Mine is considered a big car. As far as the small cars around here go, there's lots of those little Sonics and these little miniature things.
It's 50-50 here in California because it's the land of hippies. So there's a ton of Priuses and smart cars. Still to this day, I've been in a major car accident and I've had this argument. So I know that smart cars are actually built like a giant roll cage. So you're more protected. But those cars just scare me. The tiny little smart cars that are basically golf carts with car motors.
Well, people
I don't know much about how those are built.
think that they're
They're
safer in an SUV or a big old pickup, pick me up. If you get run over by a semi, you're toasted, just like somebody in an
Exactly.
Impala.
One of my son's old therapists, she drove one of those, and I would always give her a hard time because she could pull up in my driveway behind both of my cars and back up. Like she had a ton of room. But I looked up the specs one day, and it's built like a roll cage. But like I said, having been in a major car accident, if I wasn't in my giant truck, I wouldn't survive because I had to jump out the window, and I would have been
Junie,
pinned under.
Junie, poor people are spending $1,000, $1,500 for a car.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, the car I have now is really the most expensive one I've ever bought. And I bought it for $1,500 because the front end was messed up. So I knew it was going to require work and required another $1,500 to rebuild the front end. So basically $3,000 is the most expensive car I've ever owned.
Yeah, same here. The most expensive car I've ever owned was a brand new AMX in '73, and it was like $4,200, something like that. And I haven't spent more than $3,000 on a car since.
Wow.
Of course, I've got the talent to fix one, so and the means to do it. Used to.
Well, and that's one of the things they have to take into account. This thing about saying no gas engines is, what about the people who don't buy new cars? There aren't enough used electric cars to make that viable.
Very true.
Well,
And there
that's
probably
what I'm
won't be
saying.
enough used electric cars because by the time an electric car is, somebody replaces it, you probably burned out the battery pack, and replacing the battery pack may cost as much as buying a new car anyway.
A battery pack in a Tesla or something like that can run $3,500 to $5,000.
Yeah, I knew it was a couple thousand at least.
Yeah. And to answer your question, dog, in my car accident, I was actually wearing my cowboy hat, and it saved my life because my head hit the steering wheel and the brim kind of woke me up instead of making me pass out. And my hat was like this when I jumped out too. It was funny.
The other issue with electric cars that are really going to have to change all kinds of stuff in American culture is there's lots and lots and lots. There's millions upon millions of people who work on their own cars. Almost none of them are qualified to work on an electric car. They'll kill themselves by trying.
I know how you work on it. You take off the e-brake, you take off the brakes, and you push it off a cliff. That's how you work on it. That's what I feel like doing with my truck.
Well, and manufacturers have tried for a long time to prevent the average person from working on their own car. And they've carried that a lot further with electric cars.
Well, they prevent it nowadays. If you lease or buy a car, you have to do it at the dealer,
What?
and they have to service it.
I
Otherwise,
don't
your
think so.
warranty is.
I think they are still covered under Moss Magnus in 1974.
That's crazy. I've owned. One of the reasons I don't buy new cars is because I like owning my car because I've always smoked. So I love working on my car. I couldn't imagine not being able to.
I can't imagine being able to afford a car if I can't work on my own.
You know what though? I got burnt on my TARDIS blue truck. I had a black one that was the exact same truck. It was beautiful, and my TARDIS blue truck was a complete lemon. I bought it $5,000 cash, and I got completely burnt on it. And now it sits in front of my house.
The other problem with electric cars is when there's a lot of them, and we replace all these gasoline-powered accidents that we have and turn them into electric car accidents. Electric cars are real happy to burn like fucking stink. It doesn't take much to collapse a panel in an accident enough to short out a wire or a cable, and that's going to be instant fire at the voltages that they're working at. And when those batteries get going, get the hell away.
Well, and unfortunately, they're saying that electric cars are going to be the answer to save the environment. They've got a lot of problems in themselves. Have you looked into the environmental cost of mining lithium and of disposing of these battery packs when they're done?
Have you seen a lithium mine and what comes out of it?
And what it does to the people that are working on it?
Not only that, but what it does to the environment for the next 5, 6, 7, 800 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like these aren't completely clean. It's not like they don't have some environmental impact of their own.
Everything's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's not just what comes out of the mine, but it's also, just the amount of energy required to extract the lithium into a form that they can use it to make batteries.
Yeah, they haven't even figured that out with windmills yet. The amount of energy it takes to put a wind generator up actually is more than the wind generator will ever produce in its life.
Yep, and windmills have the same problem that.
But that's kind of an unfair comparison, Swede. I mean, yes, it does take a lot of man hours and equipment costs and everything to manufacture the windmill and to ship it and all that. You're absolutely correct. But to compare the construction cost to what it does is so off base, because you can't do what a windmill does with a truck. Okay, we're not building.
No, I'm just talking energy in versus energy out. That's it.
But yeah, I understand it, but that's not a fair comparison. If you're using that to stay within the same chain of consumption as one product versus another, yeah, that's perfectly valid and I think important. But it's just so unfair to compare things like that. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to compare it to a truck. I think he just was saying that in general, as a way to generate energy, they're not really a big winner.
Yeah.
That's not true. They generate tons of electricity, and they
don't generate more in their lifetime than what it takes to produce them. That's the whole point. Is the trade-off we have now is that the production value of a windmill pollutes less, but it still takes more energy than it.
Well, that's the issue that's here is not the energy issue. The issue here is if we're going to kill ourselves through greenhouse gases, so the windmill is an absolutely essential part of that equation. And so I don't care what the energy balance is on putting one up versus letting it run. And besides, windmills are the guts of a windmill are completely rebuildable. A friend of mine owns a company that does it.
Oh, I was about to say they employ massive
the-
people here.
Yeah, the mechanical guts are rebuildable. However, the exterior components, and particularly the blades, are something that also creates a waste issue that will never go away. They can't be recycled. They can't be decomposed in any manner. They will basically continue to exist for thousands of years after they're no longer useful.
What
There
are they
are
made? What are they
several
made out of?
sections in Iowa of
Mostly
farm
fiberglass.
fields that are nothing but windmill blades.
Same. When you were saying that, Purple, I was just picturing the entire way to Vegas is nothing but windmills. It's actually something beautiful to see on the hills.
No, I'm talking about these are blades that have had to be removed.
Oh,
You can't throw them away. You can't recycle them. You can't do anything with them. So there's like entire fields, like 1 mile by 1 mile sections. That's 640 acres where it's just blades lined up.
crazy.
Yeah.
California is filled with them, especially out in the desert.
You just what we need to do is we need to make a concerted effort, and this is why governments exist to do this, because the return on investment is 50 years long, not 1 year, which is where capitalism lies. Is we have to figure out a way of making blades that can be melted back down and reformed so that they're not brittle anymore. We need to be able to put up a generator that has positive outflows of energy based on the energy inputs needed to do it. We've got to figure these things out to get more and more and more efficient. Otherwise, we're still going to have to face the same consumption problem that we've always had.
I'm certainly not a chemist, but I can't imagine that somebody is not working on fiberglass recycling because of this issue. I mean, it's just a resin with glass fiber strands in it, and if you grind the shit up, you've got this extremely fine powder that I could see being used in other ways for filler of the next generation of fiberglass, for example, or things like that. Like we use wood chips and stuff, although we won't want to be burning fiberglass for energy like we can wood.
There may be ways to do it right now, but it may be so hard and complex in the way that they would have to do it that it's just not worth it right now.
Yeah.
It's the same way with wastewater coming out of an oil well. We can get the water out. It just takes a ton of energy to do it, and it's not worth it. So we just push it back underground.
Yeah, I admit I did not know that the blades were fiberglass and that they required replacement. I just was not aware of that. What's the reasons for replacement? I would think, of course, impact.
They get brittle over time. Breaking.
Mostly it's storm damage, but yeah, just they do age. They've got a life expectancy of a set number of years. I'm not sure how long it is.
Well, yeah, look at any 1960s Corvette and what's going on with its fiberglass.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter what way we go, we've got a problem to solve. It's just pick your poison.
Yeah.
And I would much rather be spending resources on trying to find a way to recycle a Tesla battery pack than on building massive CO2 collectors.
Those are everywhere here too. It was interesting to see when my power went out recently, which neighbors had solar and which ones didn't.
They're actually facing a little bit of a problem here in Nebraska with solar power because it's creating a bigger wealth divide, because rich people can obviously easily afford to put solar on. Mm-hmm. And since the electric company, the way it's organized is we sell it back into the grid, in most months, our electric bill is zero. The poor people have to pick up the slack of what we're not paying.
Yikes.
To keep things going, so it increases their bill. So there has to be a way to figure out how to, handle all these different economic problems. One being paying, should should anybody that makes less than $40,000 a year have an electric bill? It is a pretty good question to have. So
Yeah,
should
socialism
things,
solves a lot of these problems.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
That's not even socialism. That's just a welfare program.
I wouldn't have a problem with that in any way, shape, or form.
So you just
aren't all welfare problems actually socialism?
No, socialism deals with who
paying
owns the
for
means
things.
of production.
Depends on who you. It's in the eye of. Depends on who you're talking to.
Well, you still got these cartoon character politicians like Marjorie Jackass Green, who actually thinks she's intelligent, screaming tyranny. They're going to make me wear a mask. That's tyranny. That's tyranny. You don't fucking know what tyranny is, bitch.
My neighbors are the ones who listen to her, and they're like, "Oh, this is socialism or communism." And I always ask them, "What's your definition of either one, please?"
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is to ask people what their definition of it is, and then I turn my camera up onto this little piece of paper over here, and I go, "Now, please maintain your gaze at this while you try and tell me you're smarter than me about this subject."
I live around a lot of Mormons, and they dance between I'm a Mormon, the Bible, and whatever they can to dance around the subject. But we live in relative peace, so I'm not going to talk too much trash.
Yeah.
What's wrong, Jenny?
Jenny? No. Okay, she muted herself, so she's dealing with something there.
How are you, Sal?
Hey, I'm great. I'm really enjoying the conversation because I don't care about the energy problems. Not really don't care. I care about the pollution and all of that. But the biggest issue for me is the people crying all of these things, getting rid of petrol by 2050 or whatever it is they are singing. I would like for them to give up their big SUVs and their private jets and maybe try cycling to, the summits and things like that. Because these guys live very, very lavish lifestyles. I mean, you look at them and each person has a bottled water. So while you are telling the little guys to, hey, we're going to do this, take care of pollution or whatever, they are causing a lot of little problems. Did you see them? Inside the meeting, they had no masks on.
Yeah.
Yep.
But outside, while they were giving press conferences, they had masks on. So I can't take them seriously. I'm sorry, guys. I do my little bit, but I can't take them seriously. There are way too many countries still depend on, we are still old school, I would say. Depend on the petrol and the diesel and things like that. There's no way my country would say, oh, we're going to just go completely off grid for any of these things. Electricity. I mean, we have load shedding. So,
but that's why
okay,
I have.
Yeah,
that's why
and
I question it.
That's
why
one
I
of the
question
problems that, even if the major industrialized countries, say that they're going to go with wind and solar, a lot of these aren't viable options for a lot of other countries.
Yeah,
And
you can't just stop the production of, or the whatever of oil into whatever components we use. I mean, what are they going to fly the airplanes with?
That's my question too.
Isn't jet fuel a different fuel to the fuel you put in your car?
Yes,
so
it is
where does
quite a bit
that
different.
also come from oil?
It also, it's about 17% is what a barrel of oil is you can get jet fuel out of.
So
yeah,
that's going to be interesting. I never thought about that because
and the problem is the weight of a battery to power an airplane is actually proportionally still heavier than what can get off the ground.
Yeah.
For any size. Like you could probably do it on a Cessna 170 or something like that, but you can't do an electric powered like 747.
Yeah, you couldn't have one that would have any cargo capacity. It wouldn't be able to
The cargo
carry
would be the battery.
beyond its own weight.
Yes, the cargo would be the battery. That's very funny.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to just mention with all of these battery things, cell phone towers are battery powered also, but they do have like backup generators and things like that. We have a very big problem in this country where they actually steal the batteries and sell it on the black market, because one battery is 200,000 Rand. So you just divide that by 16 and you'll get that in dollars.
Mhm.
That is an expensive, piece of, what is it? What is a battery? A piece of equipment? No, I don't know, an accessory. And so
it's a
the
piece of
cell phone
equipment.
companies, in the beginning, they were, replacing the batteries. But now they have just almost stopped bothering. So if like mine down the road was hit down and completely stripped, only the shell of the tower is standing. So they don't bother to replace it anymore because it's so expensive. And now we have network problems, connection problems. It's because the black market is always driven. I'd love to know who is controlling, any aspect of the black market. Because if there wasn't a demand, there won't be, these underbelly people who make these plans. Like, copper theft is a very big thing also.
Same here in Southern California. It's copper theft and Cadillac converters. So every crackhead wannabe in person who doesn't know what they're doing is looking for copper wire. People have died climbing power poles. People get arrested all the time stealing Cadillac converters from cars. It's bad here.
Yeah, there's
And
platinum.
transformers. They love to steal actual transformers.
I rather enjoy when people like that try to steal various things. Like they'll go up to a small business, 10,000 square foot building and try to steal their air conditioner because it's got lots of copper in it for the most part. Some are mostly aluminum, but a lot of them have copper. And they steal the cabling on top of the roof, which is feeding it power. And they do this while the damn circuit's live.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if they get fried, do you think I care? If you don't,
I'm sorry.
you can't even figure out that a circuit's live before you try to steal it. Well, you're an idiot. Darwin wins.
Happens all the time here. All the time.
Here also, there was a guy who, I'm sorry, I know it's actually, when you know it's wrong, then I'll have to find it hilarious. I'm sorry. Is that like very rude?
No, not at all. We had such bad car thefts that they had this thing called the Bay car. And when car thieves, and they'd put a camera and car thieves would get busted, I would laugh. I would be crying with laughter watching these hardened criminals know they're going to jail. So if you do a crime, be willing to do
And
the time.
especially when I'm sorry, but when your crime, you go out of your way to make it worse for somebody else. I say, if you want to steal from somebody that's not going to like feel it. You like steal an old lady's pension as she walks out of the bank is not the best karma for you, I would say.
Oh no. But okay, so hi, Sinister Porpoise, how are you?
I just
Hello.
finished streaming somewhere else, and yeah.
So in LA, there's been a lot of smash and grab robberies. A lot of it has been in like Beverly Hills and these billion-dollar companies. Do you feel sorry for Saks Fifth Avenue or De Beers or these diamond companies that get diamonds from Africa?
Yes, I do. I've owned a small business, and we've been broken into, and we've been robbed and things like that. It is absolutely disgusting that these people
I
will
own a
break in
small-
and
I-
take the product of our hard effort. Okay,
I agree with
they'll
you.
just come in and steal it. Yes, I feel sorry for them, and the damn thieves should get everything we can throw at them.
As someone who works
Yes.
in a small business, I agree with you as well. So, anybody else?
I have to say, I have less sympathy for corporations than I do for small businesses.
That's my whole point.
Yes, a small business, you like take the one day's, whatever you sold or whatever, somebody comes and steals it, that knocks you right off. I experienced that personally. Somebody killed our business in 2 nights.
Hmm.
The first night he was like the part owner, but he walked in on the Friday night and he just opened all the tills and he took all the cash and off he went. And it was it was a bar. And you take the money for the night from a bar, you like basically fuck up the business, sorry to say.
No, it's true.
Well, yeah, if you take all the money they took in one night, that could easily be their profit for the entire month.
I was really cocky until someone stole our gas cabinet, and now we have security guards up there. At my shop.
What's a gas cabinet?
It's a cabinet that holds all of our gas cans, because in the state of California, there's fires everywhere. My shop is in the middle of the desert, so your gas has to be contained.
Yes.
And
Here
it has
too,
to be
yo.
it has to be separate from your building if you have over a certain amount of gas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like we had a diesel tank, and it had to be 600 feet from the building, so it was literally up in the hills. We had to build a road up to it. And then a fire came, and watching a diesel tank shoot 200 feet in the air is actually just as spectacular as it sounds.
Yeah.
I can
Well,
imagine. I've seen the results of a water heater launch itself through a 2-story house.
Well, diesel burns slow. And so the fire department, like, they came up to the shop and they asked me, they're like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Enjoy the show." Because that thing had been burning for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was like, something's going to happen. Because, like, something's going to happen. And it was a major fire. And that thing went up right in front of the fire department. We all said, "Whoa."
And it burned for very long?
Well, it shot up 200 feet in the air and crashed down, and the fire department did their job after that. Diesel isn't flammable like what you think it is.
Yeah, diesel is a much more viscous fuel. It's not as refined as gasoline, which is part of the problem they have with it in cold climates, is that if it gets down around the freezing point of water, diesel fuel turns to a gel.
I learned a lot of lessons that day. I learned a lot.
You can start a diesel engine on a 50-50 mix of kerosene and motor oil.
Oh, that's awesome.
Kerosene is not far from diesel fuel.
So if you
how much is a liter now of your gas or whatever you call it?
It's what, 2.3 liters to the gallon or something like that?
No, like how
it's
much?
Almost 4 liters to a gallon.
Or 4 liters.
It's a little under 4, like 3.8, I think.
Wow.
In money terms, like how much is a gallon?
Oh,
well,
so here
where we are, it's $3 a gallon. So it's definitely, that would only be what, like 80 cents a liter or something.
Wow. Okay.
Well, that's what people are talking about as far as the carbon footprints and stuff, and why we have to stop subsidizing gas and oil. The price of gas is going to go through the roof, but that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, it's only so cheap here because the companies that extract the crude oil and refine the gasoline get a lot of government subsidies.
A ton.
So the price of petrol hits 20 Rand a liter, which is $1 because it's 15 Rand a dollar. So it's $1.20 or something, or 30 cents in your money per liter.
That's about $5 a gallon.
Yeah, even that's not as bad as I know it is, even in some European countries.
That's California prices. We're paying $4.80 with a card and $4.70 with cash.
A lot of states it's illegal to charge less for cash than with the card.
I was just going to ask why the discrepancy.
Because the merchant has to pay about 3% of everything they charge to the credit card company.
Sorry, they do that every time the price goes over about $4.50. They start doing that.
Yeah.
Around here,
diesel engines are more tolerant of using other kinds of oil to run. And actually, the University of Minnesota, one of their transit buses has been run on nothing but the waste oil from the French fryer in the Student Union building for the last 15 years.
Oh yeah, biodiesel.
Mm-hmm. Willie Nelson.
Run it through a sieve.
That's what Willie Nelson is making money off down in Texas. Is he's doing all biofuels now? They're doing original growth, direct source, I guess you could call it, as opposed to used oils and stuff like that. But it's biofuel. They're absolutely making it out of nothing.
The biofuels have good potential. Unfortunately, again, they have some problems that aren't immediately obvious because mostly they tend to make them from corn. So then the question comes to how much energy are they using to grow the corn versus how much energy do they get out of the fuel?
Well, what they want to do is start using hemp for that sort of production because its resin content is so much higher than what you can get out of corn.
Yes, it is a great use for industrial hemp.
And it's significantly cheaper to grow. And, if you grow it right, you could have a hell of a party.
Actually, the industrial hemp that they use for making rope and paper has so little THC you could never get high off of it.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just clarifying.
But remember,
I wasn't sure if everybody in the audience would know that.
That is where the high-powered marijuana came from, through selective breeding over a generation or so. This weed that they're selling you doesn't exist out in nature. it's all manipulated. It's not. They're not doing it with genetic engineering, but they're doing it with normal crossbreeding and stuff like that. They've been doing it in agriculture for thousands of years.
Yeah. It's the same as any of the produce you buy in the grocery store.
Sure.
You probably wouldn't recognize any of the fruits the way they were 100 years ago.
Yeah, corn is just a grass.
Yep. Yeah, the plant that corn is derived from originally started out only having 5 or 6 kernels per stalk.
I'll be back.
Man, I'm glad I went to the dispensary yesterday.
Are you?
Yeah, we have terrible weather. It's rainy. I have family coming over, and I think I have just enough weed to put up with all of it.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good.
So I'm excited.
I need to get that up. Sorry. Oops. That was in private chat. Sorry.
That's okay.
So I'm looking it up because I know I've looked this up before, but the amount of oil subsidies in the United States, people that complain about, almost nothing.
And we had the northern slope of Alaska. When I was younger, I campaigned with the Surfrider Foundation to stop the northern slope. And then I looked into it. Oh, hold on. What's the acreage on that thing? It's like one of the largest oil fields in Northern America.
Prudhoe Bay?
Yes. And I campaigned again. And then when I was older, I went to Alaska, and they take better care of that environment than the city of Los Angeles takes care of their people. So I have nothing bad to say about it at all whatsoever.
I am actually shocked that the total amount of oil subsidies in the United States is 9.7 billion, and 8.5 billion of that is just through the different type of tax treatment that oil drillers get, in which the tax is actually owed. It's just owed different in different years than all up front. They're able to write off their cost immediately rather than take it over several years through depreciation. So,
Well, I knew that was one of their big advantages, was that they could write off the capital investment in machinery almost immediately.
well, I mean, the reasoning behind that is when you put concrete to form the hole to the ground, there's no way to get the concrete back. So it's essentially a sunk cost that you can never get back. There's no salvage value. So they gave them 100% write-off for like drilling expense, which, whatever. But that write-off, you're paying 100% of everything that comes out of the ground. So as long as the well is quote unquote economic, meaning it makes as much as it took to drill it, you're paying the exact same amount of taxes. You're just doing it over the span of, say, 10 years rather than 1 year.
Mm.
So I'm not seeing all that many subsidies. The direct spending subsidies for olive oil is 600 million. And to be fair, on a $4 trillion budget, 600 million is a fart in the wind. And it's,
Damn it. Now I have Against the Wind stuck in my head.
yeah, I mean, it's the reality of the situation is ending oil subsidies would do nothing.
I just don't see how they're going to do it here in California. It's going to be interesting. And also, there's an oil field in my town, on the outskirts of my town. There's San Onofre, a nuclear power plant. There's all kinds of stuff around here. So it's going to be really interesting.
If you end oil subsidies, the price of gas is going to go up to at least what it is in Europe. And what's the intention of that is that the people are going to start driving less, or demand cars that are more efficient, or demand electrics. That's why you got to end the subsidies.
But the subsidies are so small that there's no way that that's true. How many gallons are sold in a year?
And suddenly iRobot is going to become true. Isaac Asimov will be right again.
Remember in 2008 when the big stock market crash hit, or the housing market crash hit. At the same time, gas was going up to $4 something a gallon, even here in Wisconsin, Minnesota area. People stopped driving. They were doing only essential driving. People canceled vacation times and stuff all over the place. Roads were less clogged. Rush hours were smaller, shorter. It made a huge difference at $4 a gallon. Imagine what it's going to do if it goes up to 7 or 8.
If you ended subsidies, we sell that. Oh, that's a per day. If you ended subsidies, it'd be less than a penny per gallon.
Baloney.
It's 8.5 billion or 9.7 billion of subsidies, and we sell 390 million gallons a day.
It goes up $5 on a barrel, and your gas is going up 25 cents. These guys are so interested in screwing the fuck out of you for their profit. They're gonna do everything they can to get more out of you, and it won't be just a penny.
And if
I'd have to look into more in the subsidies. I don't really have figures for it right now, but I think that there's a lot more that's not coming up in what you're looking at.
If we had Star Trek's economy, we wouldn't be paying anything at all because they don't have money.
Damn right.
If we had replicators that would make everything on demand.
Okay, that brings. I want to bring something up then. We're talking about technology and what's going to be going on in the future and stuff like that. What do you think they're doing with these Boston Dynamics robots that are just absolutely fucking incredible, and how they can move and what they can do, from the dog version up to the humanoid shape ones that can dance? What are they going to do with those things?
Well, being a tech person, I can tell you that there are some major advances in technology that were first made profitable because of the porn industry.
Oh yeah, everything's
Doesn't
pushed by the porn
surprise
industry.
me.
I mean, the internet,
Yeah,
VCR.
I'm
television,
sorry.
tape recorders, film, videotape. The whole
As
industry, whole world
as
is pushed by porn.
as a man, there's always a man in the boardroom saying, "But can I have sex with that?" So of course, sex sells. That's what we run by. I don't care who you are, what you are. That's
Well-
part of feed me, fight me, fuck me. Those are part of the 3 F's. That's human nature.
The most basic instinct of any living creature is to reproduce, and there are countless examples in the natural kingdom that show you that the desire to reproduce often overrides self-survival.
Thank you for sharing your tale, Athena. Do you want to share the rest of you? Or you're just going to show everyone your tale?
I'd like to hear more discussion about what the practicality is behind these incredible robots at Boston Dynamics, or what are they? Boston Dynamics, is that right?
Well, I would like to say all science is for discovery, so they're just going to build from one to the other to the other.
Yeah,
I mean, robots
I don't
like
think
that
the
to be able to
robots
get
have
around
really-
in rescue situations. I can see a lot of that.
I don't think the robots have really advanced enough to do much more than reconnaissance at this point.
Exactly. I read an article in Scientific American. I can't remember. I have a stack from, but anyways, they basically are saying, like, during the Fukushima earthquake, during the Fukushima disaster, they were saying like that was the time for Japan to show that robots were superior, and all they could really do was put a camera on a robot and show you what was going on.
Well, I think, from what I recall, after watching the Chernobyl documentary, they actually tried to bring robots in because it was lots. Because they were trying to save human lives, but the robots couldn't operate as long as the humans could. The radiation just fried their circuits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that was, sorry, go ahead.
The humans couldn't operate very long either, but
that's
the picture of the elephant's foot is from a robot, though. So the famous picture of the elephant's foot from Chernobyl is from a robot.
Well, I imagine we can shield the robots against this robot circuitry against radiation, but
well, okay, that's just one use. What else do you think that these things could be? I mean, is everybody not as impressed as I am with the
Well,
I'll tell you why.
A robot to do a particular job, building it to look like a human is rarely a good approach.
Yeah.
You generally build a robot to suit the job, and being a biped is generally a handicap.
I'll tell you, on a smaller note, McDonald's answer to $15 an hour minimum wage in California was to put kiosks, I consider them robots, in every store. They now have more kiosks and less employees.
They did that here too, Will.
Well, that's just like all the stores having the self-checkouts now, that they don't have to have half of them cashiers.
Yeah, that's why we have to go to UBI.
This was pre-COVID, though, that they were doing that. They at least here in California,
they were doing that before the minimum wage was ever going to go up. It was the minimum wage is still the federal here, and we have the kiosks too.
Well, I know
it's law here, and like one day there was just less people and more robots. It was the strangest thing.
Well, a lot of that is they're just trying to be petty, saying we're going to lay off workers because we can't afford it. It's like,
I will intentionally go to a checker at a Walmart or something like that, not use the self checkout, because I want that person to have a job.
Well, unfortunately, automation is going to keep going, but I try to go, especially since I'm not the fastest person checking out. It's like, if I can, I'll go to a short line and get the cashier to check me out because they'll do it faster, because it's hard to explain, but it's just getting my limbs to do what they want them to do at a decent speed sometimes takes some time.
I can't imagine a lot of people are going to get fluent enough at that procedure for as seldom as they go to the store that they're going to get any good at it. Whereas the checker is there 8 hours a day for however many days a week they work. You know, they get very practiced very quickly. But
Well, that's another thing we
when we're
can
doing
use.
the checkout, it's always going to be slow as fuck.
I
That's
agree
another
with
thing we can
you.
use.
But at the grocery store by my house, they now there's only 3 checkout stands, and the rest are like 6 aisles of self checkout, and that's just in my local grocery store.
That's another thing we could use robots for.
So they're taking the checkout, and it sucks because I've moved away and come back to this neighborhood at least 4 or 5 times, and there's people that have worked at the grocery store by my house since the 80s, since the 70s. There's the managers worked there as long as I can remember, and they're being phased out. And that's a good place for a kid to have a first job too.
And what is it? Whole Foods is experimenting with no checkers, no billing, no nothing. It all gets added up on your phone as you go through the store, and
Here
they take it off your credit card when you leave the store.
They've had that here for a while in California.
I can't see how that would work.
Everything is tagged.
Yeah, they've had that here for a while.
With an IFRD?
Something like that.
Well, you have to show your card, but you basically, if you have an account, you can get an RFID, but you have to show your card. But yeah, you could swipe and walk out with your stuff.
RFID,
I'm super dyslexic. I say it backwards all the time. But yeah, we've had that for a while. It's just sad to see the human being phased out. Like I said, as someone who drives a tractor and likes doing it, it's going to be sad when they have, robots that can take my job.
I'm on the opposite
I
end. I cannot wait for automation to kill the vast majority of jobs so that we can end capitalism and we can get to a point where machines do the shit jobs and humans are free to cultivate their minds.
So
that's supposed to be.
Well, that's why one of the concepts that's banding around a lot now is, guaranteed minimum income. Why people need to start talking about that, because there's going to be a point soon where there's so many people who aren't working but need income that it's going to have to come from somewhere somehow. You can't have literally millions upon millions, tens or hundreds of millions of people starving. It's just not going to work.
Well,
The other thing you have to think about is our birth replacement rate is so low that we actually have to start automating quite a few jobs because we aren't going to have people there to take them.
There's also something I have to disagree with something here slightly, but it's going to be really hard to understand why. You say we have to end capitalism soon. Capitalism's already ended. What's replaced it isn't better. We've got some weird cyberpunk dystopia we're all living in now.
Well, what we have is instead of the original capitalism, we have a very predatory capitalism that does not value the customers or the employees to be anything.
No, we have a system that was basically warned against by both Smith and Marx.
Yep.
It's no longer capitalism, and was also warned against by cyberpunk authors.
I think of it as a different form of fascism, using the classic definition of fascism being an intermixing of the corporate and the government structure into one force where they each commingle and co-rule. Except instead of it being the government, it's its own division. As you're discussing cyber works, the needing of computers and think machines to do all this stuff for the rest of corporate America. That they're now the ones who are going to be intermixing with corporate America and making the new rules.
As someone,
Mark Zuckerberg is going to be your boss.
as an IT person, I do have a problem with the way business people are trying to do that. And that's a lot of people in computers and IT are on the spectrum, and they keep trying to make them more like business people. And that's not going to work, because what makes them good computer people is that they are not business people. They understand computers, and the business people are the ones that have to bend here, and they're not doing that.
And they will always be able to put in backdoors. Always.
Well, of course, computer people don't do that. We want to be able to access the stuff.
Well, sure. Nobody can win this game. Corporate America can't win it. Capitalism itself can't win it. The computer guys can't win it. Nobody can, because everybody can fuck each other somehow, and they will. Humans just haven't grown up enough to cooperate.
Oh, I see that all the
Well,
time.
and that's the thing, that we can't see it as a competition. People who are working in the same company are supposed to be working together, not trying to defeat each other.
Yeah, but the average person is too dumb for peace. I say that all the time. Just think in your everyday life, how many people do you know that have needless conflict?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that is true, and that's why we're going to have, just endless social problems, because people think everything has to be a competition. They're not good at cooperating.
In my everyday life, I go out trying to better the world, not trying to harm people or anything like that. You have to actually actively go out and seek peace. You can't
Well, for the average human, your circle of empathy drastically reduces two Kevin Bacons away from you.
I agree. But even with I don't know. I agree with you on that, but I have kind of a worldly view where I try to, I don't know. People, they
That's
talk
the
about
next stage of human evolution is if we start to be able to empathize with people that live 3 blocks away,
yeah.
What's
the
that
same
Vork-
way that we empathize with our direct neighbor.
What's that Vork Tech thing? I saw that in my chat too.
It's probably spam or porn.
Oh, I should have blocked that then.
Whenever that's
I was just taking it out and reporting it.
ever since YouTube started cracking down on comments, my trolls don't come around too much on my videos anymore. Because they can't comment hate-filled things on my videos anymore.
Yeah, I did not have problems with these spammers in my chat until literally a few weeks ago.
Well, I gotta know, what kind of hate-filled crap does a sewing channel get?
Oh, people call me gay or the N-word all the time.
Oh, Jesus.
Or that's gay, or this is the gayest thing I've ever seen, or
Yeah.
you're gay. Like,
All right, yeah, like my
Well, tell them they're wrong. You're bi.
I truly think people like that are closeted. And I know there's a whole argument that not everyone who calls someone is gay, but I think a good 90% of those people who care about someone else's sexuality are secretly jealous that that person is able to be who they are.
Yeah, I'd agree. I
yes.
think most of them are.
So you can call me whatever you want. Like I'm okay with myself. I have a decent life. I'm not mad about it. So
how many firebrand preachers were caught with their boyfriend?
Oh,
yeah. And I think most of that comes from religion. That people who are brought up in a religion that tells them that they can't be what they actually are.
Exactly. So I feel sorry for those people. It makes me laugh, but I've been out and about for a long time, so it doesn't bother me. But like YouTube cracked down, so my hate-filled trolls aren't around as much.
I'm just falling asleep in my arms.
I just don't see a point. Like if I don't like someone, I just do not participate.
I don't think there's a week that goes by where there isn't some firebrand preacher that didn't get caught with some sort of vice that they vehemently opposed.
Yes,
I know.
Isn't that wonderful?
I know we're supposed to be boycotting Richard Dawkins, but who's the guy who cursed out Richard Dawkins in the movie? Was it Paul Haggard, Ted Haggard? Oh, what was his name?
In what movie?
It was one of Richard Dawkins' documentaries where he was
Oh.
going around.
Ted Haggard was the guy who got caught with some teenagers, and he was a preacher, and overnight repented and said, "Oh, I found Jesus again. I'm all cured." And
Wasn't that
all
Jimmy
that
Swaggart?
kind of stuff. Jimmy Swaggart was caught with some women. I thought, not boys. I could be wrong.
Yeah, he got caught cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
Ted Haggard, if I recall, was very anti-gay and then got caught with meth-addicted male prostitutes he was paying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. That's exactly
Lone Wanderer
the story
also
I was
said it was Ted Haggard.
exactly.
So my question is if you're that firebrand and that's the level you go to, imagine what Steven Anderson's vice is like.
He's scary though because he lives in Arizona and he's strapped. If you were to run up to him, he would have no problem smoking you. Like he's sexually repressed and loaded. So be scared of that guy.
That guy is so far in the closet. He's like past Narnia.
That's what I'm saying. Like people like that, like you're gay, bro. It's okay. Come to the dark side. We have cookies and cake. Pot's legal.
And fabulous outfits.
I color coordinate all the time.
I would be there, except for you guys are all pro glitter, and frankly, glitter just in me, I just hate it.
Nah, most trans people aren't pro glitter.
Yeah, glitter is just a pain to have to clean up. You never get rid of the stuff.
Craft supplies.
yeah, but we all have subs that do the cleaning work.
No, I mean, my sister will send me one greeting card with glitter in it, and I will be vacuuming it out of the carpet 3 years later.
Like I said, it's the herpes of craft supplies.
My ex-wife had this theory that if you had glitter on your clothes, you went to a strip club.
Yeah, okay.
It's true though. That is true. It's very true. But I didn't have the heart to tell her the club I went to was all guys.
Yeah, gay strip club. Yeah, okay. Here's a hypothetical for everybody to ponder and banty about. If we were able to change our society's attitudes towards gay sex, gay lifestyle, trans issues, whatever, all the sexuality stuff became a neutral, non-argued point. Do you think there'd be more people who would claim to be gay or feel comfortable enough to open and say they're gay? Do you think it would go? They say that percentage is what, around 10, 11, 12%, something like that of the population?
Are you kidding me? It would be the renaissance of self-discovery.
I think there would probably be more poly than there would be gay. I think there would probably be a lot more people that would come out as bi or poly than there would be as just like flat out gay.
Yeah.
Now, they may transition all the way over to saying, well, no, I actually am just full on gay. But I think it would open the door for poly being the prevalent.
I think you mean pansexual rather than poly.
What's that?
I think you mean pansexual rather than
pansexual. Poly. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. I don't know. I'm biased because whenever someone calls out my sexuality, like I said, I'm just like, oh, you're gay, bro, or you're on the fence, or
No, they'll probably find some new group to persecute, like left-handed people.
you know at one time I was in the gay part of Las Vegas, and these guys screamed faggot at me at a car. Like, okay, that was warranted because I was obvious. I was on, the left side of town. Like, I get it, It was kind of a joke, but it was a scary moment because if they had jumped out, I would have to take on like 6 or 7 dudes. And no one's sober at 3 o'clock in the morning in Vegas.
What about the Mormons?
Oh, where I live,
right, Mormons don't recognize each other in Vegas, just like they don't recognize each other in a bar.
What happens in Salt Lake stays in Salt Lake.
Thank God.
I'll tell you, I've actually hung out with a few people in Las Vegas, and then I see them in LA, and we're both like, "Oh, I don't know you." So Vegas is definitely a place where people go from all around, at least in America, to be debaucherous. But it's known. Like if you go to Las Vegas, like everything is legal there. Pot's legal in Vegas now. Like prostitution is legal. It's literally that
Actually, it
land
isn't
in
legal in
Pinocchio.
Vegas.
What's that?
Prostitution is not legal in Vegas. It is in the rest of Nevada.
Well,
Yeah, you have to go outside of Vegas to get a
Yeah.
prostitute.
Yeah, in Las Vegas County, it's still illegal.
Illegal prostitute.
Clark County.
Now it's looked away from
yeah, I was
quite
about
a
to
bit.
say. Well, you know what? The funny thing is, you have to fill out a W-2 to be a hoe in Vegas. So if you're a stripper, prostitute, even if you're gonna hang out in a hotel and sell yourself, so if you get approached by a cop and they literally give you a card, the cop will be like, "Oh, tax-paying citizen, bye."
Yeah.
So
Well,
as
and
long
I think that's the way it should be handled. They should be licensed professionals, and there should be requirements for them to get periodic health screenings.
that's the thing, you have to be
And better training so they can do more tricks and things.
No, like you have to have a license to be a hoe in Vegas. That way, that they did that to kill all the pimps. Because there's a guy doing life right now for bringing minors across state line, and they put him in prison for life as an example. Like, prostitution's legal here. You have no reason to bring anyone here.
Isn't
Yeah.
that Matt Gates?
Oh, he should be.
Can we just send Matt Gates and Marjorie Taylor Greene? I don't know.
What?
Matt
Put him on
Gates, Matt Gates
Yeah.
is kind of weird because I mean he's 35 and he finally got a high school girlfriend.
Let's put him on the ship I want to put all flat earthers on a cruise to the Antarctic. No winter gear, no return tickets.
I'm usually the young one in
How
a
very
relationship.
Baron Harkonnen of you. That is very, very Vladimir Harkonnen of you.
Hey, there's a reason why I know I should never be a judge.
Hooker school.
No,
Yeah,
actually, I promoted survival hikes as, being a good deterrent and alternative to prison. That depending on the nature of the crime, you just drop somebody in the wilderness and, how much gear you give them and whether or not you tell them which direction is the closest city depends on what they did.
Yeah, but to someone like me, that would be heaven. Are you kidding me? Ship me out. I won't come back.
I think anytime.
Well,
that
and
we,
that's fine, because if you don't come back, you're no longer a threat to society.
That's not a threat. That's like, I want to live out in the middle of nowhere.
You moved to Indiana?
I think we ought to also have all of them. If any of them vote for any military action, they have to immediately resign their commission and be a member of the military.
You mean post?
What?
I mean, congressmen aren't commissioned. Military members can be if they're officers.
Yeah, well, whatever. Well, most of them have college degrees, so they would be NCOs, or so
They would be
non-commissioned officers.
Actually, it'd be officers.
I think that should be experience driven too. So you get some
Okay,
smart ass Republican congressman who's a private.
folks, I need to wrap this one up early here.
All right.
Because then I have to be back on again in 5 hours for the official kickoff of the Christmas marathon.
I was wondering about that.
5 hours. What time does that make it?
5 in the morning.
That'll
Yeah.
be 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so I have to wrap this up here so I can lay down for a couple hours before I have to be back on.
Well, if I'm still up.
Yeah, I'll do my best to get there. Burp.
Well, I'm hoping Stu will show up because it'd be tea time for him.
All right. Someone is
no.
purring.
So let's go around. Anybody have any last words? Anything they want to promote? Porpoise?
I'll be on from 11 p.m. my time, because we're just barely in Eastern here, to 1 a.m. tomorrow night. Be excellent to each other, and so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Well,
Awesome.
Jenny, you got anything you want to say?
Let's see, just to piss off everybody at Fox. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy mental breakdown. Whatever you'd like, just do it happily, please. And if you're not busy, come on up to Minnesota and fuck me good. I really need it.
Minnesota's too far away. Plus, I'm asexual.
We'll see you at 5 a.m., folks.
I'll be
Sweet.
driving by your house next Thursday. So, but I'll be with my family. So.
Well, so.
and I'm happily monogamously married. So there is that. Yeah, no, I'll be in La Crosse next week, so that'll be fun.
Hey, remember, 5 a.m. There is something I want to plug. 5 a.m. Christmas morning. Get your ass up out of bed and watch the damn James Webb telescope go up. And let's hope go up means to fly, not to, go up. It's one of the most monumental pieces of human engineering ever to be created. It's going to revolutionize our view of the whole universe. It's just phenomenal, and everybody should be just on pins and needles for this thing. It's beyond a big step in human capabilities and understanding of the universe. It's just too big not to know about.
Sounds awesome. We'll have to look on that.
It's a 13,000-pound satellite. It's basically 13,000 pounds are tossing up in the sky.
That's heavy, man. That's heavy.
Yeah, that's.
And here, I was just going to say, I can't wait to go to Trempolo next week to get a full English breakfast.
The thing is going to self-deploy. It's got to put out these heat shields. It's got to open up its mirror and assemble it all and align it all. There are over 300 individual operations that it has to do to completely deploy. And all of them have to go perfect or it stops right there.
Wow.
Well, and this is where you were talking about the computer programmers earlier, because they have to, plot all that out in advance to make sure all those steps occur in sequence when there's no one there to watch it.
Or if there's a burr in that hinge.
Yep.
it's just like, Arr! Okay, I'll be quiet now. I'm sorry.
Okay, Will.
How's it going? I'm Godless Sewing of the Godless Sewing channel. Go subscribe to the Godless Sewing channel. Right now, I have a video out about DIY assless chaps. It's me just prancing around wearing chaps. And like I said, no one asked for it, but everybody's getting cake for Christmas. Purple just dropped out. But with that being said, don't forget to tip your waitress. And I think we're going to be here for a second until Purple comes back in and ends the stream. There you are. Like I said, don't forget to tip your waitress. And I will be streaming from 10 o'clock to midnight on Christmas night. So everyone come on down. I'm gonna have an open stream. It'll just be hanging out, nothing too serious. I put a picture of Sammy Sosa, his different phases until he transitioned to Ricky Ricardo as my thumbnail.
All right, I just need to point out that Savage Minnow is the chat, and according to someone, Savage Minnow and I are the same person.
I did not know you were supposed to be the same person.
No,
I didn't get that one personally, but
Sammy Sosa just hurts my feelings. That's all. Poor
Hey,
Sammy.
Sweet. It was really nice to be on with you again. I've missed you.
Likewise.
Yeah, we don't see too much of you.
Yeah, I'm busy with school and work and.
Well, yeah, like you say, you got a family. That takes a lot of time.
We don't want you on too much. You're so damn smart. You make us look bad. But it's really nice having you whenever you come.
Yeah, I spend most of my time right now in my two classes, Theory of Micro and Theory of Macroeconomic Study. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
what, you didn't take, are you a professor or?
I'm just going
Well-
for the old doctorate.
Okay, you can pick up all these discussions in the streams later on. Like I say, I have to sign out here. Of course, I need to, again, thank my Patreon subscribers, X of the Utah Outcast, Bonrick, Junie, who also does all my artwork for the channel, Ox, Robert X, The Lavender Lady, Greg Hartwick, and Dog is my newest Patreon subscriber. He was out there earlier tonight. So appreciate all of you, sending me a couple bucks a month to keep things going here. And yeah, as I said, I'll be back here in 5 hours because that's when Christmas Day starts in New Zealand.
Awesome.
Good night, chat.
So
I'm so glad you were here. We love you.
So good night, everybody. Any hour, for the next 2 days, anytime you're up, anytime you have time free, if you just check under the link from the kickoff stream, it will have a full list there of all the links for all the segments of the Christmas marathon.
And is that
So
on your
any
channel?
hour of the day, it'll tell you where you need to go to find somebody streaming live to chat with.
Is that going to be on your channel?
Yeah, well, it's all under the kickoff stream for mine. If you open up the description, it'll have the listing of all the channels that it's going to
Awesome.
be under.
Awesome.
So for whatever time you're around, you can look it up on there, and it'll have the times listed with GMT and U.S. Central Time.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.
Good night.
See you later.